his hand, saying he's got a lot of questions for him. He says Oyama Shogo figured out that he wasn't Baek Dogyeong by the lighter and said he didn't know the meaning of the lighter, asking the man what its significance is and what it means, so the man says that's an item akin to the symbol of their Oyama gumi and isn't something Korean guys like him can use around carelessly. Yisu repeats these words and says he understands and that he'll take this from him, driving the dagger through and chopping off a finger before saying he needs to pay and confirming that something like this is a means of apology, remarking that if so, he's going to receive a lot of these from all the guys. The man shakily gets up, spouting abuse at Yisu and saying he'll make sure to tear him apart, running fall out at him, but Yisu easily slams him back down and tells Hyungu that they're deserting expediently, telling him to move, which he hurriedly agrees to, wondering if he's a grunt. Heading out the room, Yisu calls his secretary, Sua, and tells her about the lighter and its significance, so she answers that she'll go ahead and retrieve it since she's already at the hospital. Meanwhile, Gunji and his men watch her from afar, wondering why she's going to a hospital before getting up and deciding to go check for himself if that's the case. As she's going up, Sua asks about the meaning of the lighter and Yisu says it represents a symbol of the Oyama gumi and Shogo figured out that he wasn't Baek Dogyeong with this. Sua says she isn't very sure and can't verify it since she didn't really know anything about it other than the fact that it was something Baek Dogyeong kept on him at all times. She opens the door and says she gets that it has the Oyama gumi symbol engraved on it, but only director Baek Dogyeong would know what it means, but suddenly stops in shock, dropping the phone to the floor as Yisu asks in panic about what's going on as Baek Dogyeong gets up from his bed with a lighter in his hand and notices Sua, whose hands are clasped around her mouth. He says he was wondering who it was, but it's Miss Sua, and asks why it feels like they're meeting each other after a very long time, turning around to look at her. Sua steps forward and says it feels like that because they are meeting each other after a very long time. As Gunji walks through the hallways, he comes to a sign beside the elevator saying the 6th floor is under construction and instructing patients and visitors that entry is forbidden, seeing which he repeats the words and tells his men to head up, and he's going to look if there are any other entries, remarking to himself that she went out of her way in Seoul to visit this faraway area, and wondering if she has anything to hide before thinking of what Taesun would hide in a hospital right now, and saying there's nothing but that. As Dogyeong's lying on the bed, he repeats what she said. The assembly has disbanded and Shogo took control of Taesun. While he was gone, he tries getting up, saying he can't just lie down like that, but Sua stops him and tells him to not force himself, and that she'll call over a doctor so he should stay still, softly remarking that this is enough for now. As Gunji's men enter the 6th floor, they find the bodyguard from before, saying there really must be something inside if the head of security at Taesun is here. But he ignores them and says they can't go beyond this point, but the men nonchalantly approach him, asking if he doesn't get the situation and if someone like him is thinking of stopping them Oyama, but he replies that even though they may be from Oyama, they cannot pass. One of them puts a hand on his shoulder and tells him to not overdo it and ask who he's seeking to impress, addressing him as Mr. Han, head of security. He says no matter what amount of days he tries to bark, his master won't even be able to hear him before the guard, Yasha, grabs his head, asking if that's what he thinks and slamming him down on the ground, shocking the other two who take out their daggers, asking if he dares to mess with Oyama, but he ducks and hits one square on the chest, seeing which the other one shakily holds his dagger and says he's going to regret this, but Yasha steps forward repeating the word and saying he's done more than enough of that because he was a dog who couldn't protect his master. He grabs the man's wrist and starts crushing it, saying he was the dog who couldn't bark as much as he should have in front of the master he needed to protect. The man falls down in pain and Yasha goes on that it's his time now and tells him to go on and bark, making him scream in pain. Gunji watches the scene from another corridor and meets two guards who say he isn't permitted to enter and ask who he is, but he swiftly pierces one's neck and stabs the other, saying they're lucky they're in a hospital since they won't die if they press down hard at the very least before taking the ID from one of them, saying he's going to borrow this. Entering the room, he greets Ryugasaki, who dully stares back. As Sua hurries with the doctors, she meets the guards who tell her to hurry to the director. She hurries inside in dread with Yasha and sees Dojong lying on the bed, perfectly fine alone. He tells her that Gunji came to visit him and nothing much, except the fact that they saw each other's faces and have complications on both sides. He asks if she has his phone, but she answers that it's with Yisu, so he tells her to let him borrow hers since it looks like he needs to do some organization. He gives a call to an old man, Oyama Tetsuji, the Oyama Gumi's boss, addressing him as father and saying it's been a while. Tetsuji says he'd heard some horrific rumors, so it seems they were false, but Dogyeong answers that they were true, and that Baek Dogyeong died, so from now on he's thinking of living as not Baek Dogyeong but Oyama Ryugasaki. Tetsuji gets up and asks why he changed his heart now, saying he's always thought of him as his successor, which is why he passed on his lighter to him, a token everyone will acknowledge, but the situation has changed now and many family members don't acknowledge him. Ryugasaki says he doesn't really care about who becomes head of the family, but Shogo crossed the line and should never have harmed his family, so all the guys who are against him, tell them to come to Korea where they will set everything aside and go at it with each other. Tetsuji asks if he's going to kill Shogo, so he answers that he will and cuts the call, after which Sua angrily says the first thing he does after waking up is declaring an all-out war against Oyama Gumi. He smiles, asking if she's worried and saying it doesn't matter who it is since they're Tison, and now they've even got him just as Yisu rushes into the room, asking if Sua is alright and seeing Dojong before starting to cry, asking if it really is him, which Dojong confirms and gets up. Dojong addresses Yisu by his name, but asks if he should call him Baek Dogyeong now before asking if he's crying, to which he answers that he'd thought that he would become Dogyeong if he never woke up, so Dojong asks if becoming him was doable, so Yisu wipes off his tears, saying they were twins so he thought he could do it, but he couldn't and it was so damn difficult. Dojong says he's worked hard and tells him to let him take it from now, so he should stop crying now. Later, Dojong puts his arms over his hands, saying this is messed up. The Tison he worked so hard to build has been handed over to Ilhak, and he kidnapped Chungwon's Cha Yuhua and did all that under his name, which is the most absurd thing in all of this. But Sua says thanks to him, Baek Dogyeong's image to the public became that of an unrivaled, super strong gangster, to which he sarcastically reacts about how nice that is before asking Yisu what his next move is, so he answers that they have to take back Tison first, and that they'll go back, Oyama Shogo and his henchmen, one at a time, one after another, he'll cut them all off. As Shogo sits beside the man Yisu had chopped a finger off Nabu, he says he's been beaten up a lot, which Nabu admits to but says he can still move and is okay with this, so Shogo angrily grabs his collar, saying he should be able to and remarking how absurd it is for Oyama's Oni to be lying in a hospital. Shogo asks if the fake was as strong as Ryugasaki. Nabu begrudgingly says he doesn't know of Ryugasaki's skills since he's never seen them firsthand, but would like to think that he isn't any stronger than the fake, who was a monster from another world. Hearing this, Shogo madly grins for a second before saying he's disappointed in him, asking if he ate fear off the floor and became an ordinary man for being so scared by him. Gunji suddenly arrives and answers Shogo's question that he has found something, but the boss is looking for him and hands him the phone. Over the call, Tetsuji asks what he's doing there and says Tison was something he gave to Ryugasaki. Hearing this, Shogo laughs and tells his father that he's a fake, a twin pretending to be Dogyeong, but Tetsuji says he's real, and that he's confirmed it before telling him that fake just told him that he'll become the boss of Oyama and kill Shogo, to which Shogo asks what he answered. Tetsuji says he answered what he was supposed to as the boss and tells Shogo to come back to Korea, who angrily cuts the call before shoving the phone back to Gunji and asking if Dojong really is alive, so Gunji says he confirmed it was Ryugasaki and found the third-party organization that leaked information to them, saying it's Seoul. As Chief Jang is sitting in his car, he inwardly acknowledges that Oyama took over Tison and took Ilhak's Lee Seungman's finger as well, and are inexorable, contrary to what he thought, which is why it'd be a bad move to let them stay in Seoul for long. but he can't just bring them in front of the board since that'll make them even more complicated.